Well, hello there. It is April 17, and I know that I don't match very well today, but that's what you get when you have a pink hat. Kind of doesn't go with some things sometimes, but I'm finding that I am burning myself. Even if I put sunscreen on my face, I still get burnt, so I gotta start wearing hats more. Anyway, I am at Bruno Dunes State Park in southern Idaho, and this is prairie-like, as you can tell, but I think it will be quite interesting. It's a 6-mile trail, so we'll get in a good hike today. The campground is $24 for primitive sites, so I'm very pleased about that. Not as horrible as the other place was. This park is pretty isolated, so they decided to build an observatory here. So this is where this trail is taking us to right now. And you can see the dunes in the distance there. And they say there's lots of birds in this area too, so this is going to be fun. In our last talk, we learned that Aaron and his sons were ordained and coronated and instructed on their duties in the sanctuary. And then shortly after that, disaster strikes. You won't believe what happened. The Bible says that Aaron's sons, their names were Nadab and Abihu, they each took their censer and they put fire in it and then incense on it. And then they offered profane fire before the Lord, which he had not commanded them. So fire went out from the Lord and devoured them, and they died before the Lord. Of course, they're doing construction stuff around here, so it's pretty noisy, but except for them, there is nobody around. So not only do you got dunes, you got a marsh as well. Fun. Well, let's carry on with our walk as best we can. I have this feeling I'll be walking mostly on sand, which is not the funnest surface, but what do you expect? So not only were these Aaron's sons, that meant that they were Moses' nephews, and next to Moses and Aaron, they had the highest position in Israel and had many advantages and privileges. They had heard the voice of God and had hung out with Moses and Aaron in the presence of God. Well, that's kind of a bright spot in a drab landscape. Before this, they were thoroughly indoctrinated and were fully acquainted with the sacredness of God's work. The profane fire they took means unauthorized or improper. They should have taken fire from the altar which the Lord had lit. You see, humans are only permitted to approach God in ways that He authorizes. God's fire had shown His goodwill by consuming the Israelite sacrifices, but now the same kind of fire consumed the two new priests. As God's servants, priests were to precisely follow His instructions because their ritual activities taught the people crucial concepts regarding God and His salvation that He offers. God said, "By those who come near me, I must be regarded as holy, and before all the people, I must be glorified." Then Moses had some cousins of theirs take the bodies out of the camp And then he instructed Aaron and his 2 remaining sons not to uncover their heads nor tear their clothes. They were forbidden to mourn because they had just been consecrated as holy, and their level of holiness was way too high to be associated with death. Also, mourning could have been interpreted as showing displeasure at God's judgment. Now you may be thinking to yourself, what happened? Why did they not take God's fire? Why didn't they follow God's instructions? The next part of the chapter gives us a glimpse as to what was going on. It's just a vast landscape right now. Then the Lord spoke directly to Aaron. Usually it was through Moses, but now God speaks right at Aaron. Do you see the sand blowing off up there? That's how windy it is. Yeah. Then God said to Aaron, "Do not drink wine or intoxicating drink, you nor your sons with you, when you go into the tabernacle of meeting, lest you die.
It shall be a statute forever throughout your generations, that you may distinguish between holy and unholy, and between unclean and clean, and that you may teach the children of Israel all the statutes which the Lord has spoken to them by the hand of Moses." Oh, so that's what was going on. It seems hardly reasonable to believe that God would issue such an edict at this time and under these circumstances, except to clarify the true cause of the tragedy. Death was the most severe penalty that could be meted out, and stressed God's attitude toward the use of strong drink in the sanctuary.
They have snowboards you can rent, or sandboards. Rent and slide down here if you want. Not for me. These are the tallest single sand dunes in North America. The sin of the young men was not a light matter that could be erased by the offering of a sacrifice. It was deliberate and reflected scorn for sacred things.
Wine and strong drink can so benumb the faculties that a man fails to make a clear distinction between right and wrong, between holy and unholy, between clean and unclean. This is what must have led the 2 sons to take common fire as they entered the sanctuary. In their condition, they could see no difference.
Yeah, look what happened, of course. The use of spirituous liquors affects all the faculties and disturbs all the orderly processes of the mind. Under the influence of wine, men will do what they would never consider doing while sober. The priests were teachers. It was their work to instruct the people in the statutes and ways of God. But how could they do this if they themselves were unable to discern the difference between right and wrong? With a befuddled brain, it is impossible to lead or teach others in the way that they should go. See, here is a crater between these 2 sand dunes, and I'm not exactly sure why it happens. But I hope you guys appreciate the effort that I go to show you things. Yeah, I'm nuts. But I will not be snowboarding down here for you. You know, the sand is actually pretty firm in some places. You don't sink down too much. Oh look, I'm in the midst of a dust storm right now. I think I want to get down off this ridge. Yeah, no thanks. Peaceful on this side. Wow, fabulous. You could totally go blind looking at this sand all the time. As far as men can see, fire is fire. What's the difference if it was started by God or by man? I don't think you can pick up how really majestic these dunes are. They are really tall, but you can't tell really. Another one. They keep circling around. Oh, a little reprieve from that wind. Now, we may think God extraordinarily vindictive in instantly killing Nadab and Abihu, but he is able to look on people's hearts and see things that others cannot see. There was a difference between those fires because God said so. Just like some people say today, there is no difference between worshiping on one day or the other. They are all the same. And really, there is no difference except in God's command. So we really should pay attention to what God commands, because in the end, it really is a life and death decision that we ultimately make. Not only have I walked 10,000 steps today, I'm sure I've burned 10,000 calories slugging through this sand. Not my favorite. Horses, this is a horse trail too. I'm sure they love it. This is so peaceful. It's not even funny. Such extreme opposite. I ain't going there, but in case you're interested, that's the equestrian camp. There are those dunes way out there. I sure did a wide circle for walking. I can't believe that's only 6 miles. But anyways, that was a workout of a century. You should wear a hat today, I said to myself. Turns out to be one of the dumbest mistakes I've made in a long, long time. The healing hiker rating for a find your own way around a very large sand dune is a 2 out of 5. You may think it's higher if you like sand dunes, but I myself don't care for sand dunes that much. So I did it for you. Let me know in the comments if you like sand dunes.